Well, considering the majority of our first fund has been invested during the pandemic, I would say, and globally in businesses and people located all over the world, for us, if anything, our opportunity to invest in our business has been thriving during this period of time. I think people are, despite not being able to get it together in person the way we once were, I think we're learning to use and adapt to digital technologies and other ways to connect, and I'm finding actually in so many important ways I'm able to spend more time with founders and portfolio companies and potential companies than we ever did before. And so in that way I think we're very much not quarantined, and it's a global economy, and investing in companies around the world has never been better. Well, I run a business called Galaxy Interactive. It's a venture franchise that focuses entirely on investing in interactive content and technology. So we started the business long before we were all quarantined and in this pandemic, but the driving thesis against which my partners and I have been investing capital is that people are increasingly spending the majority of their conscious time inside of immersive digital platforms and across various devices. So I think what makes us unique is really investing at the intersection of content, technology, and finance, and in particular Web3, so decentralized finance. And I think we're really the only dedicated interactive content fund in the world that really has that level of expertise and sort of Web3 DNA. We fully invested our first fund. We've raised half of our second fund and started investing that fund already with the first 5 deals now. I think we'll continue to round out raising fund 2, investing fund 2, and continuing to build a franchise for ourselves in the interactive content and technology space. Yeah, I think that's true for the businesses we invest in, and it's certainly true for our business, which my partners and I are building ourselves. I mean, again, we invest at the intersection of content, finance, and tech, and made a very conscious decision to build a team of people that have expertise in those 3 areas. So I think half of our investments are in or around the video game space, but we really made a deliberate decision not to build a team of purely experienced video game entrepreneurs, for example, or video game developers. We wanted to make sure to build a team that has equal parts expertise in gaming and media and content, for sure. And I spent my 20-year career entirely in media and content. My partner Richard Kim spent the same amount of time in his career entirely in finance and economics and trading technologies. And then we've also really built a robust team on the hard tech, both software and hardware side, so that we really were able to cover those 3 core pillars of our business: finance, content, and tech, with equal parts expertise. I mean, the macro story around video games, and again, the amount of time that people are spending in these immersive worlds, and the lives they're building for themselves inside of them, it's really undeniable in terms of a growth trend. And having spent as much time as I did in media, and particularly in a lot of businesses, sort of old media businesses that have been in secular decline for a long time, the video game industry is one of these just incredible growth stories. So that part of the growth trends around video games themselves are really fascinating. I think equally important, though, is we're starting to see now the way that the best practices and behavior that people are learning and adapting inside of video games, they're starting to bring out to all these other areas of their lives. And so for us, one of the most interesting things to look at and invest in is the businesses and the ways that people are taking these lifestyles that they've created and learned from video games out into other areas. For example, I mean, we're investors in gamified education and learning platforms, sort of gamified health platforms. So where you're starting to see people who bring, and in fact, one of our companies, an Indian company called Goki, is a great example of this. It was founded by one of India's leading mobile game entrepreneurs, built India Games, sold it to Disney, and then built a health business, sort of a healthcare and lifestyle health business. And he brought all the game loops and engagement metrics and just the way that you would build and think about a mobile game, but applied to helping people live a healthier lifestyle. I mean, I think we're on a strong growth trajectory for gaming for a long time to come. I mean, the sector has been growing at such a rapid pace that inevitably you expect to see it slow down at some point, but there's just still so much opportunity ahead of us, and people are really increasingly choosing to spend the majority of their time in games in one way or another, and especially as games really become the social platforms and the places where people are building their status and their identity and where they're connecting with their friends. We're moving very quickly away from a game being something you drop into and play for 5 or 10 minutes or an hour or even 2 hours, and much more about the place where you actually really reside if you think about your identity and where the connections and the people who matter in your life are where you share your time with them.